a love story as I can with two interlocking love triangles. It's like the more complicated it is, the more satisfying it is as a writer to put in the time. Whereas if you're just trying to make it as commercial as possible, then you're putting in all of your time on something that disinterests you. You're saying, this is what's popular, this is what people will like. If that doesn't dovetail with your own interests, then you're just making it hard on yourself. So essentially it was a progression. It was here are my interests. I'm in pursuit of trying to find more authentic, essentially getting as close to truth as I can, and progressing through each of these major elements of human life. Politics is a core element of human life. Religion is a core element. Love is a core element. Death is a core element. Mothers and daughters are definitely two core elements. So in each of these cases, it's a way of working through and developing my own insights, and at the same time trying to develop a story that's going to appeal to a whole spectrum of readers. This person is going to like these parts of the books. This person is going to like another part of it. But hopefully, if they can stick it out through the whole 6,000 pages, they'll come to the end of it and go, yes, I really got something out of that. Even if they can't say specifically, I got this out of that, I got something out of that.
We've had several discussions. We've had several discussions with the group about what the best parts are, which particular element of your story are. I was wondering, do you have a specific almost that you think is the best part? Is there a favorite part?
I think Gerhard and I were both about the same on that. It was like you were always disappointed when you got it done because it's always so much better in your head, and then you put it down on paper and it's, you hope it's maybe 70% of what you wanted it to be, or 80%. You'll live with it if it goes down to 60% or whatever. But the one that always comes to mind, and this came as a surprise to me, was when I did the African sequence in the Hemingway part of Foreman Boyd, because I was working from Mary Hemingway's How It Was, and then thought, I think I'm going to find out if there's more of this than what I'm getting. And called the Kennedy Library in Boston, who has all Hemingway's papers, and found out that they did have Mary Hemingway's Africa diary intact. And that was, again, the clock is ticking. They FedExed me Mary Hemingway's diary. Now I have to read the whole thing, in a couple of days and extract the core from it, break it down into panels. And that one was the opposite of the 40 pages. That was, I've got 25 pages for this, and let's say I'm going to do 7 panels to a page. This is all the stuff I'm going to do, and okay, we got 25 pages for it. Okay, it runs about 60. And it's like, oh boy, we have trouble now. And then just saying, okay, we got to go in and slash and burn, take out all of the fat, anything that we can live without here. And we're going to have to go heavy on the panels. We can't do 7 panels. We're going to have to do 20 panels to a page. It's like, can we do that? It's like, we're going to have to. It's the only way you're going to get it all in. It's like, I hope this works because, the clock is ticking. And it ended up running over the space that I allotted to it by about 4 pages, 4 to 7 pages. Into the next issue that it wasn't supposed to be in. It was supposed to end at the end of this issue. I still had 7 pages to go. And I think that was just such a seat of the pants experience. The fact that, I'm up on the tightrope, there's no safety net, and I think it's on fire behind me, and it's burning my picture down to the last strand and being able to jump onto the platform just when the tightrope broke. Actually, I did. We'll pretend that that's what happened. And so that's always the most vivid in my memory. And the experience of drawing teeny tiny panels and having it work out. And the first few good reviews that came in, good letters from readers. A couple of months later, gee, I like all those little tiny panels that really worked well. It's like, it wasn't a complete disaster. It might just be one weird guy that liked it, but any luck at all, that goes across the audience.
Given the enormous amount of research you put into each section of the story, research and follow it's hard to understand how, again, when you write a church and state you haven't read about it, it's going to put several years down the road. It's hard to understand how you're plotting the story and how much research and thought you put into the entirety of the series.
That's very difficult even to explain to other writers, because most writers work in terms of a big project for a writer is to work 3 years on a book. Say I'm going to write a novel, and I'm starting it now, I'm typing up my notes, I'm doing some research, getting some ideas, and gradually it starts to take shape. You write stuff and find out, okay, this isn't it, I'll take this out, this is it, I'm going to put more of this in. That sort of balancing act. And then at the end of the 3 years, you're done. You've got a pile of pages that you eliminated from the book. You've got the book itself. Now the editor is going to take a look at it and say, I think you can lose these parts, I think you have to make this clearer, those kinds of things. The major advantage and the major difference, and the thing that is difficult to explain in Cerebus, is that you're extending that 3-year process over 26 years. So what writers are familiar with, if you're explaining to them how, trying to make it analogous to their own situation, when you're starting the book, you have scenes of the head that you can picture. You've got, it's sort of like planning a train journey. And you're going to stop in Chicago, you're going to stop in Detroit, you're going to stop in Cleveland, but you don't know specifically what you're going to do in between. You might go off and do a digression and then get back on the highway. This might interest you, something might attract your attention. Writers do that as well. I was doing that with each of the individual books, micromanaging the part that was right in front of me when I was working on Church and State, a good example. But also saying, this is what I'm driving at. I'm doing this part to get to these parts. And I'm doing foreshadowing here that's not going to be in the book for another 80 pages, 100 pages, 120 pages. But while I'm doing that on each individual installment and working for 5 years on Church and State, I'm also saying this is also laying the groundwork for way up ahead, another 15 years up ahead. Rick, this is going to happen to Rick. He's just been introduced. This is ultimately what's going to happen to him, up ahead on what I'm going to be working on in 2001, which was mind-boggling going, I'm going to be working on this in 2001. 2001 was the Kubrick film. Are you even going to have, comic books in paper then? But essentially it was microcosm and macrocosm. The same benefit that you have, and this is again very difficult even to communicate to other writers, that things are being worked out in your unconscious as a writer while you're working on something consciously. There are parts of the head that you're not aware that another part of your brain is working on. And it's almost like you've got the Keebler elves working on something in the back of your brain, and then you get to that part, and they just bring up this fully formed sequence, this, like 10, 15 pages that you go, that's great, that's perfect. And they're going like, we knew you like it. Oh, you like it. I've done it since 1982. And, so it was completely the opposite of, how can you work on something for 26 years then? Wasn't that stultifying? Or how did you work on all of it simultaneously? As a writer, there was far more happy surprises out of the 26 years than there were, boy, this is really difficult, this is really getting hard to do. And then closer to the end that I got, because I was, as a writer, you're always working on the ending. You better always be working on the ending because you're all going to get there eventually. It started backing up, and, I had the last issue fully formed, the second last issue fully formed, the third last issue, the tone of the whole last year. And from the time I got to issue 266, starting the last storyline, it was more like just transcribing something that had already been worked out in my head. Very, very unrun writing. It was just make sure you get everything in the right order, get the phrasing right, and that it fits. Make sure that's right. All the time it fits in 20 pages. There you go. Did that answer your question? Or is it, okay?
It's,
actually, can we get one more?
Yeah, so one more.
Everybody always overlooks Bob.
That's what I tried to. Yeah, I was just wondering if you thought Lightning would ever strike twice, if there would ever be a service or something even close to there, with his martial atmosphere. I mean, back in 77, things were kind of original for the self-publisher.
Right. Is there another one up ahead? Am I going to...
You think it's even possible? I was just at SPX last week, and I kind of got the feeling that everybody was there for their own sake, which is kind of nice, as opposed to trying to get commercial success out of it. And I don't think I've really felt that show before.
Right. This is the Small Press Expo that they hold every year in Bethesda, which is all self-publishers and mini comics guys, anybody publishing your own work, small press. In answer to the question, I'm finding that the biggest problem is that you can't compete with a 6,000-page storyline. Whatever it is that I do, it'll just be the thing that he did after Cerebus. I don't feel like I've got what it takes to do another 26-year storyline. You want to do another 26 years? No. So then it's a matter of, okay, do I think I've got 5 years in me? And how many pages would I get done in 5 years? I don't want to do a monthly book anymore. So, 5-year, 10-page story, that sounds good. Every 6 months I produce a page, whether I need to or not. And at the end, it's pretty good for 10 pages. So right now, I've just finished doing the Cerebus archive, or most of the Cerebus archive, putting everything in chronological order, putting it all in plastic bags and bagging boards so it's all preserved chronologically, and I know where to find everything when people do have questions, or following Cerebus magazine, things like that. So I'm just, because I always work on whatever is in front of me that needs doing, it never entered in with what do I want to do next. This is what I have to do. It's a year and a half, putting everything in order. Joe was very nice to tell me yesterday that Lindbergh did that too. He did his own archive, so it's like, I'm not the craziest person in the world. And then I found out Joe did it too. Joe was, I'm sorry, I don't even know your last name.
Loscano.
That's why I don't know.
Joe Loscano is the executive director.
And he's doing his own archive. So now we've got 3 crazy people: Dave Sim, Charles Lindbergh, and Joe. Last name I think. Okay, I think we're going to. So the ultimate answer to your question is, I'll find out now if that's the next thing I want to do, or just go down to the mall and wonder how all these hairs started going out of my ears.
That's an honor.
It's uppermost in your thoughts when you get to 50, I'll tell you. This hair is going to run out of my hair.
Well, we're going to take just a quick break. As I said, I think there's going to be some refreshments out there. And then like maybe 5 minutes, we'll all meet again in the West Gallery, and we'll talk with Gerhard about how he produced his half of the Cerebus project. So we'll see you then.